Good afternoon and welcome to Joy News today on Joy News Channel on Multi TV. Coming up in the next 60 minutes, Ghana Water Company on a 100 days distress bill collection in the Ashanti region. GMA to resign from public sector if government fails to heed to their calls. Ex-boyfriend leaves acid scars on woman following a sour relationship. We also have business, sports, and international updates in this package. Stay with us. My name is Kwabna Chenchen. Thank you for joining us. Now, the Ghana Water Company has cut water supply to 3 public institutions in the Ashanti region for non-payment of bills. The 3 institutions are the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, Kumasi Polytechnic, and Kumasi Central Prisons. Correspondent Ohemi Interior reports that they owe the water company hundreds of millions of cedis.
And Ghana Water Company officials say they have held several discussions with defaulting institutions, individuals, and companies to pay up the bills, but this has actually fallen on deaf ears. So the decision, the action is to ensure that they retrieve at least 25% of bills or water supply that are left unaccounted for in order to also sustain them in the business. So that is why they are into this particular move. The communications manager, Mr. Samson, who indicated that in the Ashanti region, they supply 100%. So out of 100%, customers or clients are able to pay up to 75%. So the remaining 25% are indebtedness. The task force, the 2 task forces are in place. They are going around checking who owes the company, and then they'll be doing the disconnection. So the exercise is within 100 days, where Ghana Water Company wants to improve on service delivery and at the same time also improve on revenue.
The Ghana Medical Association has threatened to get its members to resign en masse from the public sector if government continues to ignore their demands for better working conditions. The threats come on the back of a meeting with the Minister for Employment and Labour Relations yesterday. Dr. Justice Jansen is a member of the GMA.
Sought to address the issues. One had to do with our conditions of service. Doctors have never had conditions of service since the inception of Ghana Health Service. We've been at it with the ministry and government for that matter on countless occasions, in fact for more than 10 years now. But we've gotten to a point where we've said enough is enough. At our last AGM in Takrady in November 2014, we issued a statement that come 30th June, if government, especially for those of us in the public service, government or the employer has not negotiated and signed our collective bargaining arrangement, i.e. the conditions of service, then we as workers will also call it a day. We will resign en bloc and leave the health service to the ministry and its agencies to run the way they want to run it, because we think that this is a big injustice. Doctors cannot work as a group of professionals, highly trained, highly skilled in the formal sector of Ghana, where the labor laws are so clear that you need to give them conditions of service. And then as an employer, you refuse to. We think that this is something that should not be entertained anymore. So basically the meeting today spoke about that. We gave the minister and his team a reminder. They gave us their commitment to ensure that come the deadline, we will definitely have signed something. But for us, we said we've traveled this part before. We want to make sure that things are done. With the other matters, we discussed them, our pensions that have been reduced, our conditions of service, as I mentioned, conversion difference, doctors who have finished medical school, they've been inducted to practice by the Ghana Medical and Dental Council of Ghana, but are still at home in a country where the patient-doctor ratio is so high, sometimes 30,000, 1 to 30,000 plus in some areas. We feel that if the country says that there's no net freeze on employment in health and education, then we don't see why these doctors should be at home. Some have even decided that they are leaving, and I know about 2 who have already left. we think that this is not good for us as a country. We discussed it, and we've been assured that as soon as possible, all these issues will be resolved.
Ghana will once again miss the target for the migration of television broadcasts to a digital platform. Government had been pushing to complete the migration by June this year, but the Ministry of Communication now say that it cannot meet the deadline, which of course has now been moved to February next year. Deputy Communications Minister Tusapon says the new date is more feasible.
The global deadline for digital migration, which is June 17, 2015, will not be possible in Ghana here. Now, Ghana says we are going to be able to do that in February, that is February end in 2016. We are talking to the Deputy Minister of Communications, Mr. Tusapon, to explain to us what really is happening and the sanctions that might come with our inability to meet this deadline.
Let me say that we have planned the migration in phases. Okay. So the first phase will be Greater Accra region and Ashanti region. Okay. We plan to execute Greater Accra and Ashanti region by the 31st of July this year. Okay, so the contract will be awarded on or before 1st May. Okay. We expect the project implementation to start from the 1st of May. By 31st July, Accra, Kumasi would have been done. Okay. Some few weeks ago, myself, I led a team. We had the Ghana Independent Broadcasters Association on the team. We had JBC on the team. We had NCA on the team. We visited the Greater Accra and Ashanti region sites, okay, just to be sure that the sites are ready for migration, for implementation to begin. So we have a good idea of what is required to get Greater Accra and Ashanti region done.
Are the sites ready?
The sites are ready. Just some minor works will be required. But we are hopeful that by the 31st of July, Greater Accra and Ashanti will be done. So as a nation, the entire nation will be on the digital platform by the end of February 2016. But the rollout is phases in such a way that Greater Accra and Ashanti will start to witness some digital infrastructure on the ground. We'll move them slowly over a period of time. And we are working with all stakeholders to ensure that the deadline of national rollout is not missed by February 2016.
Okay, but this is being done globally. The migration is being done globally. So as the global date is 17 June 2015, and we are going way away from 17 June to February ending, what are the implications? And the sanctions coming with it, penalties or something like that?
Let me say that there are 54 or so countries in Africa. Just a few have moved forward. Okay. On digital migration. I would say that for us, we are one of the countries that's moved forward. We have Tanzania, we have Kenya. Kenya had their issues a couple of months ago when they decided to switch off and broadcasters went to court. In our case, all broadcasters are ready. That's the good news for us. All broadcasters are ready. So the minister paid a visit to all the broadcasting houses, and in terms of production set, have digital infrastructure in place in terms of their production, their head end, and all of that. So broadcasters are ready. Unfortunately, the platform is not ready. Okay, in other countries, platforms were ready, broadcasters were not ready. So there were definitely issues. What 17 June 2015 does is all of us are operating with what we call frequencies. Okay. So every country is assigned particular frequencies. And so Ghana has a frequency, Togo has same, Cote d'Ivoire has same, Burkina Faso has same. Now the frequencies are structured in such a way that operations in Burkina Faso should not interfere in an operation in Ghana, because it's just across the border. Sure. So is Cote d'Ivoire, so is Togo, because we share common border. Okay. Now 17 June 2015's implication is that post that date, no country will be given any protection by ITU regulations. Okay. So what it means is that there is the likelihood of frequency interferences across the borders. Okay. Okay. The good news, however, is that across the three countries, Burkina, Togo, Cote d'Ivoire, there has not been any major development in that area towards digitization in itself. Okay, and so that offers some comfort that there's no likelihood of any interference coming through or from us into other countries, into one of these 3 other countries, as a result of the migration not happening.
So in the event of unforeseen development across our borders, what will happen?
Because of that, what we've decided to do is to deploy infrastructure across the border towns first.
Okay.
So when we say Greater Accra, when we say Ashanti in phase 1, July, phase 2, we are particularly targeting Volta, for example, because that then goes into Togo, okay, and then we'll do North, Burkina, Upper East, Upper West, that side, and then we'll do. So we've planned it in such a way that at least we are going to do the border sites first to make sure that we protect ourselves before we come into the middle. That's why Bronca Alpha, for example, is in phase 3. Okay. So it's all planned out, just to make sure that as a country we don't have any unnecessary interferences or disruptions in our TV signals from other countries.
So at least now we know that Ghana might be missing the deadline for the global digital migration, which is 17 June 2015. But at least we know that come the February end in 2016, the entire country will be on digital migration, and Ghana will enjoy a digital experience of television viewing. For Joy News, my name is Gladys Osei-Oredu.
An autopsy report on British woman Charmaine Spears, who was allegedly murdered by her Ghanaian pastor husband, has revealed she died of acute heroin poisoning. Leader of UK-based Global Light Revival Ministry, Pastor Eric Isaiah Edusa, has been charged with murder before an Accra magistrate court. The decomposing body of the 3-month pregnant Spears was found in her locked hotel room last month at Koforidua, 3 days after the husband, who she was with on a vacation in Ghana, left back for the UK. Joseph Opoku-Gakpo is in court and joins me for some updates on this particular one. Hello, Joseph.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. So what transpired in court today? Joseph, what transpired in court today?
Well, in court today, the police told the magistrate that they've concluded their investigations into this particular case, and that the docket has been forwarded to the Attorney General's Department for advice. In summary, just a brief background of the case is that this pastor came to Ghana with the wife, and the wife actually took the lead ahead of him. He came to meet the wife, they were here for a vacation, and then he left her for the UK. But the police claim that on the day that he was leaving, he told the receptionist at a hotel in Koforidua where they were residing that the wife was fasting and praying, and so she needed not be disturbed. And so he left and indicated that when the wife is ready, she will step out on her own. But they waited for 3 days, the wife had not stepped out. Then they broke into the room and they realized that she was lying there with blood oozing from her nose in a bathtub in the hotel. And so then the police were called in, which is what the police are accusing him of, being responsible for the death of his wife. But then the lawyer for the pastor, Adumakwe Champong, told the court that they are aware that the woman is a heroin addict and that she's been using it. So their suspicion is that she overdosed the heroin on her own and then she passed away. And that he explained that his client was in the UK at the time when the woman was confirmed dead. So his client could not have been responsible for her death. And he summed it all up by telling the court that when his wife, when the pastor was in the UK and he heard that the wife had passed on, he flew all the way from the UK and came to Ghana. And so if he was the one responsible for the death, he wouldn't have returned to Ghana. That was the explanation he gave to the court today. But the judge, but the magistrate, certainly did not accept those explanations that were given on his behalf.
Joseph, thank you so much for that update. Joseph Opoku-Gakpo is a correspondent. He reported from the Fast Track High Court. Graduate unemployment is a major challenge among the youth in Ghana. Most people, after graduation, struggle to make a living from their acquired knowledge. But experts say getting knowledge from the classroom is not enough to prepare students for the job market.
Most of our students also, to blame. go through the education system, and it's all about learning to pass an exam, and that is what we have created. It's about a certificate, it's about passing an exam. So we focus all our time and attention on that. By the time you're out, all you have to show is a first class or a second class upper, nothing else. We need to now come back to the ethics of our educational system. What do we want to do? And it would have to be a very radical change from what we have currently to competency-based systems where we train graduates who come in and can fit in the system, move beyond exams, and that actually accounts for exam malpractice, because the main idea, the main focus of students is to pass exams. So any way, any means, that is it. Second point on education is about how we in class can interrogate issues. So students are required most times to reproduce what lectures give them. And what we're looking at is internships that give you the right training, not just to go to the office, go and buy porridge, go and buy lunch, go and make photocopies, what have you. So we need to be strategic in choosing where to do even internships. You need to know, what am I learning from this place? How does it fit into my career path? If I want to set up my own company after school, who can I learn under? Can I get a mentor in that place who would take me by the hand and say, these are the mistakes I made, and you could learn from them and avoid them? We also have to look at the end goal. Why do you want to be there? Is it because your father wants you to be there, so you wake up in the morning, you go there with no passion, or you think that that is the way to go? The cheese is moving. There is no more cheese coming up. So in that age of global competition, where you actually have people from other countries also competing for the same jobs we have here, what are you doing to yourself?
Meanwhile, there's the need for authorities of institutions and the working sector to collaborate in order to bridge the gap between industry and academia.
Jobs in certain areas, and we don't have the skilled people in Ghana to do the jobs. And then there are areas where there aren't enough jobs, and there are too many graduates vying for those limited number of places. I cannot emphasize the need for closer cooperation between the training institutions and industry enough. I mean, I work with the Council for Technical and Vocational Education and Training, and within that sector, within technical and vocational, the technical and vocational education training sector, we're doing what we can to bridge that gap. We've, as part of the TVET reforms, we've introduced competency-based training, and I mean, to break it down in layman's terms, when you talk about competency-based training, you're talking about training that is industry-led. So even when it comes to design of the curriculum, industry has a hand in it. Industry is working with the training institutions. They are saying, these are the competencies we need, these are the kind of skills we expect graduates to have when we employ them. So they're working together, building curriculum. We're also making sure with CBT, it's always important that whatever conditions are found in industry are as far as possible replicated within the training institutions.
Time now for business.
Good afternoon, I am Baba Tando. Let's talk sports. Now, many Ghanaians have welcomed the country's failure to win the hosting rights for the 2017 Africa Cup of Nations. On social media, many Ghanaians have said the country is simply not ready to host such a huge tournament, citing the energy crisis and a faltering economy as reasons. Now, the man who brought the tournament to Ghana in 2008, Dr. Kofi Amwa, speaking exclusively on our program PM Express, also welcomed the decision to give the hosting rights to Gabon instead of Ghana.
At this particular time, it was misplaced priority. And I said that because the investment that we made in 2008 to host was significant. And before we made that huge investment, you know, Ghana was just coming out of HIPIC, you know, I mean, the country was broke, but we felt that if we could do it right, it will help the economy. So we went around the world. We went to Wembley Stadium to understudy them. I said, if one gargantuan building costs £1 billion to build, I want to understand the thinking that went into it. And how is it going to cash flow? Because at that time, there were quite a few African nations that had hosted the CAF tournament And after the hosting, the stadia and the investments became white elephants. And we didn't want that to happen. And when we went to Wembley Stadium, we were amazed to find they gave us a beautiful tour. We were amazed to find out that about 70% of the revenue that they generate has nothing to do with football. Absolutely nothing. So the architectural design and everything took this into consideration. So when we're designing the new ones, Esipon and Tamale, we made sure that we had what we call revenue generators, so that after the tournament, there will be enough monies coming in, so government doesn't have to go and find money somewhere to come and maintain them. We built in hotels, we built in meeting rooms, restaurants, shops. All these were designed in there. And also, the important thing was that it has to be put into capable hands to manage it properly. And if we did all that, the cash flow was tremendous. But now, unfortunately, we haven't done all that. So when you go to Tamale and you go to Esipon, the stadium is rusting, there's no maintenance, and I didn't want that to happen again. And I said that let the government know that, look, the process we started in 2008, we made a lot of investment, but we haven't finished the process. Let's try and finish it completely, put it into capable hands, make sure that there's enough money coming in to maintain it before we go and bid for another thing.
Now, still on this bid, and former Chief Executive Officer of Kumasi Asante Kotoko, Herbert Mensah, is not surprised Ghana lost out on the bid to host the 2017 Africa Cup of Nations. Now, Gabon beat Ghana and Algeria to the rights to host the biennial tournament after Libya pulled out of it due to political unrest. Now, Herbert Mensah, who was a member of the Ghana 2017 bid committee, has his own theories on why Ghana lost the bid.
I think in many ways the decision that was taken that gave Gabon the 2017. The processes may not have been the way that some people wanted, but we all know that's the way a CAF operate. But in many other ways, it becomes the will of the people, because if we listen to the people, which politicians simply don't seem to want to do, then they would be listening to the echoes of jubilation as we lost. They would have been listening to the death of silence in Equatorial Guinea when it is that we even reached the finals. And I think the Black Stars played very well, and I'm proud of them, but the nation wasn't happy. We would have listened to what happened at the World Cup and the fact that the debacle of what happened there, that led to the establishment of a committee of inquiry. And some of the shenanigans that went on even at the committee hearing and those who appeared in front of it. The nation is not happy. It's not happy with sports. Is not happy with the management of football, is not happy with the management of minority sports. And I think this is lost on the politicians. It's not about spinning. There's nothing to spin. The fact of the matter is that the credibility of those involved in the management of sports is at an all-time low. The handling of taxpayers' money is also something that, to the ordinary person who is struggling within the confines of a hardship unprecedented in many ways, is also struggling to handle and to accept and to understand. So going in for this bid doesn't make much sense. And you might say, well, were you not part of the committee? Well, actually, nobody spoke to me. A letter apparently went out. I didn't seek to create any further ruckus at the time. But I wasn't spoken to. I never attended a meeting. I never traveled abroad. I never collected per diem. I was never consulted. My opinion wasn't important to anybody. So why my name was even mentioned, other than the fact that perhaps my experience as a sports administrator, having invested his own money and having proven something by way of track, perhaps was relevant. But right now, I think the most important thing, that the will of the majority of the people has probably been upheld in the fact that we didn't qualify, or we did not actually get the rights to be able to host the games here in Ghana. My appeal once again is that given the catalogue of wrongdoings, the catalogue of things that have led to this very bad level of confidence within the system. And I'm talking about administrators, I'm talking about civil servants, I'm talking about politicians across the field, that we do need to get into the point where we start getting the right people.
Veteran Sports Administrator Herbert Mensah actually ending sports for now. My name is Baba Tando. Have a good afternoon.
That was Baba Tando with sports. Now moving on, residents of Oyibi Manmli near Accra are questioning why a public washroom constructed 8 years ago remains under lock and key. They complain they have no place of convenience and defecate openly. It's unclear why the facility has been locked, but some blame it on chieftaincy problems in the area. Joy News' Michaela Anderson has more.
Right behind me is supposed to be a toilet facility for the people of Oyibi. Residents here tell me it was constructed during Kufuor's administration, meaning the building has been here for more than 8 years. But the problem is that it has been locked. Oyibi is a fast-developing residential area with quite a number of other estates springing up around it. Due to this phenomenon, squatters and caretakers are common sights. Residents in this area are not happy that a public toilet built during the Kufuor administration over 8 years ago remains under lock and key.
The toilet was built almost 10 years ago during the MPP regime, but due to chieftaincy dispute, it has never been used. It has been under lock and key all these years. It is not good that there's a toilet in the community, and yet people defecate around.
The yellow and brown painted L-shaped toilet building is overgrown with weeds, some hitting the rooftop. According to the residents, the facility, which has never been used since its construction, has now become the hub of snakes and alligators. Residents feel sorry that though they have a toilet facility in an area, they have to defecate around.
We normally defecate in polythene bags and throw them into the bush.
They say the stench around here is overpowering, especially when it rains.
Some residents quite ease themselves indiscriminately.
They want
the toilet opened as soon as possible to prevent outbreak of diseases.
But we want the toilets opened now.
Michaela Anderson for Joy News.
Well, that's it for the international news. Time now to recap our major stories this hour. And Ghana Water Company Limited on a 100-day distress bill collection in the Ashanti region. GMA to resign from public sector if government fails to heed to their calls. An ex-boyfriend leaves acid scars on woman following a sour relationship. For more news, log on to myjournline.com. My name is Kwabena Chenche in the bottom. Have a good afternoon.